Alright everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to take you to explore one of the most popular dishes in Singapore and Malaysia. It is known as the Laksa noodle soup. Laksa is just another name for curry. Now what makes this soup base so amazingly good is that it's rich in coconut and it has a seafood taste to it. Usually we would make this from scratch using fresh ingredients to make the paste. But because we don't always have time, I'm going to show you a shortcut tonight using store-bought brand. Now, store-bought paste can be just as good as making it from scratch if you find the right one. Therefore, I happen to find this brand. Compared to all the other brands out there, this brand comes close to home and it tastes just as close to if I was to make it from scratch. So we better get started, and I hope you're hungry. Okay, so in a large pot of hot boiling water, you want to sprinkle about a teaspoon of salt and a tablespoon of oil. The reason why is the oil will prevent the noodles from sticking and clumping up, and the salt will give it flavor. Now, as you can see, the reason why I layer my vermicelli noodles merging into the water in this direction is because it really does help prevent the noodles from clumping up. Here you want to give the noodles a good stir and taste for texture, but once it's ready you want to drain it with cold running water. I like to pull my noodles so it doesn't clump up, and it releases the steam and let the cold water rinses thoroughly. Now, I also like to portion my vermicelli noodles, which makes it a lot easier when you serve. I like to portion it about the size of a rice bowl, so that's also up to you if you like to do that. But I recommend portioning the vermicelli in portions just so that it's easier for the individual servings. So, as you already boiled the eggs, I would boil 4 eggs because it's for about 6 to 8 servings. But in this case, I boil extra just in case if there's anyone who would want extra eggs or would like more eggs than just a half of an egg. Start marinating your shrimp with about half a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of black pepper with a tablespoon of oil. Pre-marinating your shrimp will give it a great crunchy, crispy texture and tender when you add it into the broth at the last minute. You also want to have your fish tofu ready and your fried fish ball as well as your plain fish ball. Alright, so in a large pot, you want to have approximately 21 cups of hot water, or about half a pot of hot water, boiling hot water. And once it's boiled, you want to add your chicken breast into the hot water. This is where we're going to make the laksa broth using fresh chicken broth. You want to also add on about 2 cubes of chicken bouillon into the broth. This is what changes the colorations of the broth. As you can see, it's slightly golden. Go ahead and remove the chicken that it's already pre-cooked. This is the brand of laksa paste we're going to be using today. As you can see, this is how the paste looks like when you open the package. Just go ahead and put it into the bowl, makes it a lot easier for you. And then add to the chicken broth once the broth is boiled after you remove the chicken. Alright, so once the laksa broth is reboiled, after the paste is dissolved, as you can see, the broth is now aromatic. You want to toss in your pre-cooked chicken meat breast that I shredded. You can choose to slice it if you preferred. Toss that in and go ahead and drizzle approximately a tablespoon or two of fish sauce for tasting. Give it a good stir and add your coconut powder or coconut cream, whichever one you prefer. Then toss in your fried fish ball, your plain fish balls, and fish tofus or tofu puffs if that's what you prefer to have. Now cover it again to simmer. Here you want to remove the lid once it's starting to boil a little bit and give it a good stir. You want to add your shrimps in at the last minute touch because you don't want to overcook the shrimp. You want it nice and tender but not dried. So again, give it a good stir. Now the chili powder is only if you want your soup base to be spicy, for those who like spicy broth. And voila! As you can see, this is the finished version. So for plating, you want to use a soup bowl. Go ahead and add the bean sprouts in the bottom, followed by your vermicelli rice noodle. And then from here, instead of putting in the egg, I decided to use the egg for garnish. So we're going to add the soup base on top of the bowl of rice noodle and the vermicelli, and then add the scallions and red chili. And then you can go ahead and add the half-boiled eggs as garnish as well. So there it is. Voila! Dinner is served. And all this takes approximately 1 hour to make. An international laksa noodle soup meal. So how was it? Wasn't so bad, was it? I don't think so. Anyhow, using store-bought brand really is helpful because it cuts down your time 25 minutes in the kitchen. And what's amazing about it is that it allows you to scrape up an international meal in 1 hour's time frame. And if you find the right brand, it could taste just as good as if you were to make it from scratch. Therefore, I recommend this brand if you can find it. Usually you can find that in your Asian store or even online. I do hope you enjoyed this recipe. Recipes down below. Like and subscribe.